So she let him out, and she could barely hold him, and he was trying to eat her alive. And if I hadn't seen him at the horse show, of course I would have walked away. But his hair had grown because he was just, he wasn't being taken care of, and he'd lost a little weight. So, not knowing what to say, I said, "Does he ride?" And she said, "Oh yes, my husband will be home at 3 o'clock, and he can ride him for you." And ladies and gentlemen, when that man got on that horse, it was the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. It's just unbelievable how that horse moved. And he rode him with just a little training hackamore, and when he stopped riding, that horse just stopped so hard, and it was a marvel for me. Of course, I bought him right away, and so then you're going to like this. I asked him. I said, "Well, tell me, how does he haul?" Well, she said, "When we load him in the trailer, we run in first, and he chases us, and we jump out the escape door." And so I sent a man that worked for Bubba Cassio named Neural Bruni. I sent him to California to pick up this horse with a pickup and a two-horse gooseneck inline. And they didn't have cell phones in those days, and he was supposed to stop in Arizona and stay overnight and then come on the next day. Well, he called me late that afternoon, and he said, "Mrs. Rose, do you mind if I bring this horse straight home without unloading him? Of course, I'll feed and water him." And I told him it just wouldn't be a problem. So when he got there, Matlock was gone to the Congress, and I was somewhere in the house and didn't know he was already there. And they unloaded him, and he had a blanket on, and I didn't. And when I saw the trailer, I went straight to the barn, and they'd already turned him loose in the stall we had prepared. Well, it was too warm in that barn on that day to have a blanket on, so we started to go in the stall, take the blanket off, and he said, "I don't think you're going to come near me, people." And he was serious. I mean, and of course, I didn't know all these things about him when I bought him. So I called Matlock and said, "What do I do?" And he said, "You call George, just call George Tyler, and he'll come right over." So I called Mr. George, and he came, and George Tyler was the very best man with a whip you've ever seen, ever. And so George walked in the stall with him in his booming voice, "Whoa, whoa," he was hollering "whoa" really loud. And that horse took Mr. George's hat off his head faster than anything you've ever seen. And George got the blanket off of him, and he said, if I were you, I'd leave him in the stall till Rosie gets home." Okay, with all that said, when Matlock got home and we looked at this animal and he got him under control, then we decided, what are we going to do with him? Well, we decided we rode him a little bit and tried to cut on him, and he wasn't quick enough laterally with his front feet. So the roping was very, very popular in those days at the quarter horse shows, and we're big, and a lot of people could see him, and it was quicker to get a record on him. And so we decided that we would show him at Halter in 1977 and also train him at the same time. So we contacted Billy Allen, and Billy was agreeable. So I said, "Who's going to show him at Halter?" And Matlock said, "Well, he couldn't because he was going to show Pepinita, but he said, you can do it." And of course, I'd shown a lot of performance horses, and I'd led a lot of horses in the ring showing at Halter, but I'd never really, I didn't really show at Halter. So he helped me a lot and taught me a lot. And I started out, and I hauled him for the entire year of 1977, made him high point halter horse. And a couple of times, I had to call Matlock for help because maybe the horse is getting a little bit unruly. But, and of course, the way we exercised him is that we rode him, because he was not much fun on the ground, but, all that was man-made. So one day I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the way we rode him was we exercised him. The way we exercised him was we rode him. And so I had just climbed on him and started to ride away from the trailer, and a man walked up and he said, "Mrs. Rose, do you ride?" And I said, "I'm just learning." And he said, he said, "You will like it so much better than showing at Halter." But I got to tell you, when you're showing horses and you haul them, and I was so proud of Zan Parr Bar, and We won so much, and it was incredible. I mean, I learned a lot, met a lot of wonderful people, made a lot of relationships. And I was showing in Newton, Kansas one day, and it was raining, and we were showing on a gravel parking lot. And there was a gentleman judging that I had never seen before. And he walked around, and of course I thought he was a great judge because he put my horse grand champion, but I watched him judge all day because I didn't have a lot else to do, and I thought, you know, this guy's really a good judge and he acts really professional. Well, the next week at another show where this judge was there but he wasn't judging, and I got to meet him, and his name was Jim Hurd. And so I made, in the last 33 years, Jim Hurd has become one of my very best friends. He's a marvelous man. I was the godmother of his children. And Jim is here as one of our guests tonight. And joining Jim is Dr. Eleanor Green, the Dean of Veterinary Medicine from Texas A&M University. Jim and Eleanor. Another thing I have to share with you. When I showed Zan, and I was so proud to win, and so proud to win so many grand championships and so many points and so many honors, when it was a photographic moment, I was always told to look at the camera and smile. And so I was so glad to have shown a horse in those days where when I won, it was fine to look at the camera and be proud of your horse and smile. In these days, the halter people just stare at the horse and they don't even look like they're happy. So I was really happy. So in 1984, on June the 1st, when Carol Rose Quarter Horses was started, Zan Parr Bar was my buddy, my best friend, and he helped me get where I am today. I learned so much with that horse. He was so athletic, and he was so much fun to ride, and his colts were so wonderful, yet so good looking. I decided if I continue in this horse business, they're going to look as good as they can look, be as sound as they can be, and they have to be athletes for me. And I was just so proud of that horse and so proud of what he did for me. I can tell you that when Carol Harris was showing Rugged Lark and Bobby Lewis was showing all the wonderful Zan Parr Bars, and in 1984 we won the Super Horse, but then we tried a couple of times after that and we got really close. And both times when Rugged Lark was Super Horse, Bobby Lewis was reserve right behind him, and one time he was second and third. And Carol Harris said, you know, I think we should make Bobby Lewis a Super Horse. Of course, the video showed Diamond Sparkle and what a great mare and what a wonderful cross she was. And I was so proud to stand here in Houston, I think it was 3 years ago, and accept the award for Diamond Sparkle. So Diamond Sparkle and Zan Parr Bar now are both in the Hall of Fame, which makes me very proud that I've been part of it. You know, it's pretty incredible I lost him in November of 1987. And it's amazing that for it'll be 23 years this year, but for 22 years, he has remained the leading sire of performing world champions, which is a test to a horse with a real athlete that's a real athlete.